Well, hotel numbers, visitor spending, unemployment, and job creation. With January behind us, first quarter forecasts for 2012 are being made. But after a disappointing 2011, is our state on the rebound? It's time now for today's UHERO report, and joining us this morning is Byron Gagnes from the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization. And good morning to you. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Sure.
So this first quarter forecast released this morning, it's titled Some Improvement After Disappointing 2011. That's pretty straightforward.
Right.
So what are some of the disappointments, first of all?
Well, the big disappointment last year was in the labor market. While the U.S. overall unemployment rate was improving steadily in the second half of the year, in Hawaii we actually saw the opposite. And so we had relatively little job creation over 2011, and we had a movement upward in unemployment from about 6% mid-year to 6.6% at the end of the year. And so looking at that as a general overall indicator of how well we're doing, we've clearly still got quite a ways to go here.
And there is some good news, though, in this report, I'm assuming, right? Our visitor industry did pretty well.
Yeah, if you look back at the visitor industry, it was very strong last year, and it finished the year particularly strong. There were some bumps along the way, and in fact, the middle part of the year was relatively weak, and a good chunk of that was the Japanese earthquake and the aftermath of the earthquake. By the end of the year, the Japanese arrivals had actually picked back up to where they had been before the shock. The other weak area was the U.S. mainland arrivals. They were just kind of weak all year long, and that probably reflects the overall weakness last year in the U.S. economy. The other area of big strength in visitors was the non-U.S., non-Japan visitors, so other visitors from Asia and Canada, and they were extremely strong last year, so that was a really positive note.
Okay, so good news, bad news, but what does it look like for 2012 then? What's the forecast?
Yeah, so we're somewhat more optimistic for this year, and the main reason is that the U.S. economy seems to have firmed and seems to be back on track toward recovery. We had a good chunk of the year where the U.S. economy was backsliding, where production was weak, where optimism was very weak, and a lot of that has turned around in just the last couple of months. And so with a firmer U.S. outlook, that should help to support more spending by visitors, but also more optimism here locally and spending by local residents.
So any small improvement is a good improvement, though.
Exactly.
At this point.
We'll take what we can get.
And now, real quickly, I know that there's a Senate Bill 2012 that's being heard today in the legislature, and it's kind of the state's version of a stimulus bill. Do you think that's going to help? It's supposed to help open up a lot of jobs.
Well, it can potentially. They're talking about borrowing a significant amount of money and trying to put that into spending that would help in the near term. One of the sort of caveats to that is that we saw at the federal level in 2009 that even though they talk about things like what they call shovel-ready projects, in fact, it takes quite a while to get spending going. And so even if you want to provide near-term stimulus, what we learned from that episode is that it can be very difficult. It can take a number of years to really begin to see any significant amount of spending coming out of that.
Okay, so we shall see what the
Right.
Senate Ways and Means Committee decides. All right, thank you, Byron, for coming in. And you can find out what else the economists at UHERO are tracking by heading to their Facebook page. And you can also find a link to their website on the As Seen On section of KITV.com. It's now 6:38. We'll be right back.